Hey, welcome back everybody to the Anomaly Tech channel. So wanted to go over the L3 Plus Antminer that I just recently acquired from eBay. I got this device with the intent of trying to compare it to some of the mini Doges that I've acquired from Goldshell. And I can tell you right off the back from the get-go, this is one loud miner. Not only is it loud, but it does produce an extremely amount of heat. And I haven't done an electrical cost, but I'm pretty confident the electrical costs are going to be outrageous as well. But I just wanted to kind of provide an update. I did get it. I did spend a little bit more than I probably should have spent, but it definitely is meeting up to the hash rate. So it's promised to be about 504 mega hash a second, and it's getting close to that. So I'm gonna go ahead and open up the actual Antminer page. So you go ahead and navigate to the IP address that's been allocated. I'm not going to get into the specific details on how to actually acquire the IP. There's a variety of different ways of doing it. Some people use third-party applications, but for myself, I'm a pretty tech-savvy individual, so I just got into my actual router or into the access point, took a look at the dynamic host configuration protocol leases, saw what was recently acquired an IP address, and then it actually matched up with the name. It was Antminer, so not very difficult to find. So anyhow, so there's the IP address. Plug it in. It's going to connect you to this after you put in the actual username and password. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and demonstrate that right now. Let's see if I can log out of this bad boy. Is there an actual log out option? Let's see, administration, upgrade, reboot. That's fine. I'm not going to do that right now, but just note that the first time you do connect to this, you are going to be prompted for a username and password. And so in this case, here I am right at the system tab, and it provides you a little bit of information. So this is the Antminer L3 Plus version 18. One thing that I did have an issue with when I first got this was that there was a hardware version that field was missing. I was getting some sort of weird type of error, socket connection error. And after doing some Googling and whatnot, found out that it was the mining settings. It could have been the pool settings that I put in, or a network connectivity issue. Turns out the connection was bad. I wasn't getting a thorough connection. And there's an option in here. If you actually go to the network tab, under diagnostics, you can actually ping an actual URL or an IP address, and it should return back. Unfortunately, at that time, I wasn't getting anything. And then I wasn't able to reach it. It was off and on. So long story short, I ended up moving it and testing it out and getting full thorough connectivity. So it ended up having to be the access point that this particular Antminer was connecting to that was resulting in the actual hardware system connection error that I was receiving earlier. After I took care of that, it was fixed. The hardware version popped up, and then you can see the kernel version, and then the system, the file system version. And then how long it's been up? It's been up for about a day. I actually started it yesterday around 4 p.m., a little bit, maybe around 3:30, and I actually kept it up and running about 5. I had to relocate it because it was actually drawing a lot more energy than it should have with all the other devices on that same circuit. So I end up isolating it on its own little circuit for the time being, and we'll go from there. And I'll show you where it's set up right now. It's kind of in a funny spot. So in the miner configuration under the general settings, this is where you actually set up the pool. You have 3 different pools to set up. We're primary, secondary, and your tertiary. So in this case, I've been using F2 pool. I know there's others out there who like using other pools available, but I haven't had any problems with F2 pool, and I think it's an easier interface for me to get into, whether it's on my desktop or it's on my phone, and it also allows me to track my overall profits. So it's very, very friendly for me. I like it. It works great. So you'll go ahead and set up your pools. You can set up a variety of different pools. Like I said, mine are all allocated to F2 pool. With that being said, one of the things that I did leave checked as a default was the stop running when temperature is over 80 degrees Celsius. Well, I think 80 degrees Celsius is like, it's like 170 degrees. It's something ridiculous. So definitely don't want this thing running that hot. So I kept that enabled, or kept that check. And then you can customize the fan speed percentage. So I know a lot of people have went in there and have actually adjusted the fan speeds to a lower speed so that the actual device isn't that loud. Right now I have it inside my house because it is a little hot where I live still, But in a few weeks, when it does start to cool off, I do plan on moving this outdoors, or not outdoors, into the garage, so the noise is reduced, the noise levels are reduced. So the miner status refreshes around every 10-15 seconds, and this overall summary page will provide you how long the actual system has been up and running for. So as I said earlier, it's been up for a day in 1 hour and 36 minutes and 39 seconds. And then the overall hash rate is around 503, now 504. And the overall average has been about 500.66. So you can see it's kind of, it's right where it needs to be. Another thing to take note of are the pools. So you can see if the pool status is alive, and you can take a look at all the different stats that are being offered in here. I'm not quite sure what all these different categories mean. That's something I'm gonna have to take a look at in the actual manual itself, which I was able to find online. Not as thorough or deep as I wanted, but it does explain some of these fields. So I'll take a look at that, and I'll actually put a link in the description below so you can download that yourself if you want. One thing that also take a look at is the actual hashing boards. So you can see the device has 4 hashing boards. You can see how much energy it's drawing, if this wouldn't stop refreshing so often. But you can see the amount of energy that it's drawing, and then the overall hashing rate for each one. So altogether, this does add up to be about 504 mega hash. I'm not quite sure what the HW category is, so if somebody knows, feel free to leave a comment below to let me to identify what that means. But I do know this is actually the control board for each hash, or the hash board. So it is running around 55 degrees Celsius, or most of them are. And then the actual chips themselves. So the chips themselves are running around 64, 63 degrees Celsius. So again, from what I've read through the manual, you don't want this thing to operate any higher than 80. And if it does, it will shut off if you have that checkbox, or that box checked earlier that I showed you. And that again was under the miner configuration right in here. So again, this is a really cool summary page, and it provides you an overall review, or an overview of what the actual miner is doing. One final note on this though is that the ASIC status. So what I read in the manual is you want these all to be zeros. If they're anything other than zeros, there's something wrong with that particular hash chip. So it's definitely something to monitor and to be alert of. And from what I've read online and seen on other videos, if those do switch over from a 0 to something else, you're going to see an overall reduction in your hashing capability. So for what it's worth, definitely monitor this. Monitor this summary page and see what's going on. Ideally, you want to keep this thing in a cooler environment to extend the life. But again, this device is already 4 years old. I knew that buying it was a used device, and kind of it's on borrowed time at this point. Totally okay with that. I bought it just as a first big boy ASIC and wanted to play with it and get familiar with it. But overall, it's a great product, having no problems with it whatsoever. All right, so here we are. We're on the actual F2 pool landing page for the revenue portion. And you can see that the overall profit, since I've been mining, I haven't made a whole lot of Litecoin. I've made barely half a coin. Nothing to brag about. But again, I'm fairly new at this, so give me a break. So just wanted to show you. So before I hooked up the Antminer L3, I was getting on average around 0.008 Litecoin a day. Now, this was with running 2 of the Mini Doge Gold Shell miners. Those are roughly about 185 mega hash a second, give or take. Some days they're running 165, some days they're running 200. But on average, about 185 mega hash. So with those 2 devices mining strictly with the Scrypt mining algorithm, I'm getting about 0.008 Litecoin a day. When I threw on the Antminer L3 Plus ASIC miner, I saw my profits jump up around roughly about 10, let's see, 0.010 Litecoin. So about a tenth of a Litecoin up more, or a hundredth of a Litecoin more up. So not really bad. So I went from 0.008 to 0.018. So again, not bad. What that equates to, well, let's go ahead. Let's do the math real fast. Let's see what that is. All right, let's see. So 0.018, and I think Litecoin was sitting around, let's see, Litecoin price. So Litecoin, wow, it's sitting pretty low right now, $151. But let's see. So at $151, times the amount I made today. So I made about $2.72. Again, nothing super to brag about, but that's just the Litecoin profits with, again, 2 Mini Doge miners and an Antminer L3. Alright, so here's the actual device itself. I do have this set up kind of separate from all the other miners just because of the amount of energy it's drawing. But here's the actual control board, and then the hashing boards are right in here with all the different connectors for the power. This did come with the power supply, and it also came with this actual exhaust vent that you can actually hook up to a hose, like a dryer vent, and vent the exhaust somewhere else rather than keeping it in here. You can see this thing's running great. I actually am using the power line Ethernet adapter here. But this is it. It's not really super complicated. Running pretty well, no problems again. It's a 4-year-old device. You can see the Bitmain technology sticker there. It does have an extra connector here. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look now at the Dogecoin profits for today. So we just looked at the Litecoin, and we saw we made some pretty good or significant amount of in comparison to the 2 Mini Doge miners. So on average, I was making anywhere between 14.5, 15.5. So give or take 15 Dogecoin per day for those 2 Doge Mini miners. Now with the Antminer or the Bitmain Antminer L3 Plus on there, we see that significantly shoot up roughly by about 20, I guess you can say 19.5. And so from 16 or 15 up to 35. So yeah, on average around 19 or 20. Now I'll kind of average that out over a week's time and a month's time. But just in one day, you can see that it jumped from 16.1 or 14.34 up to 35.33 Dogecoin. If we take a look at CoinGecko.com, we can get an actual price of where Dogecoin is sitting at. Let me hit refresh on this. And so Dogecoin is sitting at, so 20.5 cents right there. So let's see what that is. All right, let's pull this up right here. And Dogecoin is sitting at 0.2055. And we made a total of 35.33. So just in Doge alone, I made $7.26. So not bad, but it's probably something that would be worth looking at in regards to your electrical costs and if the actual gains exceed the actual cost. So for me, in my situation, running solar, not going to be that big of an issue for me. But yeah, just wanted to share with you guys what I'm making in the one day. Do I think that the L3 Plus is a bargain deal? Well, depending on what you can get the miner for. At making, I guess I'm going to have to calculate what the price alone by itself is, but it's probably going to be making, actually we can pull that up right now. We can see what the Bitmain, let's see. So right now it's saying it's making around $5.50 a day, but it's costing $4 in electrical costs. So you're only making like $1.50 in profit. And let's go to NiceHash. Let's see what they're saying. Same thing. So I mean, it's a really tough. If you can get a good deal on this, absolutely. But your return on your investment or your break-even point could be something that exceeds a year. But again, if electrical costs are not factored into this, this is definitely something worth considering getting because you are hashing about 2.5 times what a single gold shell mini Doge miner is getting. But the electrical costs are way, way more. So something to consider. But definitely wanted to share this with you guys so you can see where it's at. I'll provide an updated video just kind of showing where we're at in about a week and then in a month. But if you enjoyed this video, leave a comment below, give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so, and thank you guys very much.